Yeah, here comes the rooster. Oh yeah. So where we left off, Jane had just closed the dumpster lid over herself to protect her cardboard box of tools from the foundry from the rain. The next scene is on planet Vulpus with the introduction of the fascinating new character. Here we go. With the tails on his black leather coat oscillating in the extreme wind, paired with the fact that he had just realized his giblets were almost frozen through, Shadowlucas suddenly had a great idea. Moving so quickly and ducking under a nearby evergreen branch that caused frost to go flying that was stuck to his spiky blonde hair, he began to vigorously dig in the snow while speaking in his signature raspy and delusive voice. The tails told me, the tails told me, the tails told me. Abruptly, Shadowlucas stopped digging and raised a solid, flat hexagon high in the air, laughing maniacally. Ha 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 ha! Placing it back in the hole, he stood on it and retrieved a tattered book from inside his coat, manipulating it and reading passages out of order, then shifting his weight slightly from his heels to the balls of his feet. Zap, bip, snap! Then, zap, bip, snap! Shadowlucas hid his time machine in the last place anyone would ever look for it, in plain sight. Walking around the perimeter wall, Shadowlucas found himself at the gates of Atro City, and in his full frozen and smiling glory, he strutted straight inside. Walking for nearly an hour to reach his desired destination, Shadowlucas passed countless thugs, ruffians, thieves, swindlers, hooligans, bandits, and outlaws, with confidence waving at many of them. The source of Shadowlucas's brash attitude among these malfeasant characters was that they were merely criminals, yet his absolutely unhinged reputation preceded him. Cheerfully smiling and waving, Shadowlucas used this time to warm up and take in the sights. He passed street vendors selling food or merchandise, past hotels, casinos, scores of apartment buildings, nightclubs, weapons armories, and yes, even banks. The banking system of Atro City was the most secure in the universe, given the criminal population. In fact, the best kept secret across the cosmos was that Atro City stored the singular largest cache of original Earth artifacts, from currency to any weapon from Earth's history, a stockpile of tinned meats, vintage comic books, and clothing. Strolling down a street, now within minutes of his destination, Shadowlucas spoke out loud with his arms raised high. Cash, rich, and extraordinarily dangerous. God, I love this town. Rounding a corner, Shadowlucas was nearly at his most favorite place ever. He could hear the electric sign buzzing as he was still paces away from the front door. The electric sign was blue and gray, lettering with gold flakes. Shadowlucas pushed both saloon doors wide open as he sashayed into Jane's place, raspily saying, "Home, sweet home." Jane's place was occupied with so many patrons that some of them were falling out of the windows. Shadowlucas warmly greeted known and unknown folks of varying species. He was amassing as many witnesses in a short amount of time as would allow. His reputation for unpredictability was unprecedented. He shook a few more hands and spread a few more smiles before sauntering up to the bar. As Shadowlucas neared the bar, 6 chairs suddenly slid and became open as people took their drinks with them, but he proceeded anyway, unfazed. "Joe, how long has it been?" Shadowlucas asked charismatically. The bartender of Jane's place, Joe, was a living marble sculpture that very closely resembled Michelangelo's David. "1 hour, Lucas," said Joe. 1 hour since I had the brute squad throw you out." Shadowlucas drummed with his fingers on top of the bar nervously before saying, "Interesting. Why was that again?" Joe was wiping glassware with a small white towel, and as he looked up, said, "You were broke." Shadow Lucas began rapidly removing everything from the pockets of his black leather tailcoat. He placed on the bar one Krugerrand, one red foam clown nose, one 10,000 yen bill, one plastic pencil sharpener, one $100 US bill, and a small candy cane wrapped in cellophane, and he smiled broadly and waved his arms as if displaying them. Throwing the towel across one broad shoulder, Joe sifted through Shadow Lucas's offerings. Joe took all the currency and put it behind the bar, opened the candy cane and placed it in his mouth, set the plastic pencil sharpener on a shelf, placed the red ball onto Lucas's nose, and set one full rocks glass on the bar in front of him. With the nose on, Shadow Lucas shot the entire contents of the rocks glass and said, "Thank you, kind sir." Joe looked at Lucas suspiciously before saying, "I swear you have a time machine." Shadow Lucas made a very theatrical gesture, like he had been wounded in the chest, and said, "Joe, everyone knows getting your hands on a Foundry time machine is harder than farting in vinyl hot pants." Joe simply crunched the candy cane and stared at Shadow Lucas. In full swagger, Shadow Lucas flitted around the bar looking for folks to whom he did not owe money or favors. Finding the large table in back fully occupied, he leapt at this calculated risk like a child jumping to the ground from a low tree branch. Roostering, Shadow Lucas approached the large table and crowed loudly, "Well, well, well, baby-face assassin!" All that noisy din throughout Jane's place went dead silent. The individual that Shadow Lucas was greeting, that was not the person's name. His name was Jules. Jules, when standing, was a 7-foot, muscularly overbuilt human with a short dark hair and very soft, boyish facial features. And Jules was indeed an assassin. In deep, booming voice, like distant thunder, and standing abruptly, jarring the tabletop, said, "Lucas, you gold-plated nickel piece, sit, drink with us." 3 chairs scraped the floor as the occupants rose in defiance of this invitation. No one had seen anyone move. However, it was very clear from the angle that Jules had thrown a 3-barbed, 7-inch long pike dagger, which was now embedded in the center of the wooden table. "Sit!" roared Jules, and everyone returned to their chairs. Jules called across the tavern, "Joe, bottle of swamp water." Swamp water was not water from the swamp region on Earth 4. It was, in fact, Old Man Maccabee's branded 190 proof swamp water corn liquor. The bottle was delivered, poured into small glasses, and the table toasted Jules. Upon downing the swamp water, Shadow Lucas immediately became calm. His wild racing thoughts slowed to a tolerable pace, and he finally felt comfortable to be in his own skin. Besides Jules, Shadow Lucas was the only one at the table who actually enjoyed drinking something combustible and had been known to render ancient crocodiles incapacitated for short periods of time. Jules poured another round, causing the conversation at the table to flow more liberally. Shadow Lucas carefully observed everyone else's behavior in order to gauge the timing of maximum social effect for all of his replies and stories. When Jules was recounting a work story, Shadow Lucas followed it about a fistfight he was engaged in once, with the punchline being, "2 against 1, that's hardly fair for the both of you." The entire table broke out laughing. Next, 2 dwarves were speaking about the dismal state of the mining business lately, and Shadow Lucas dovetailed this news with regurgitated jargon and ending with him saying, "And then people start making end-of-the-world jokes like there's no tomorrow. It's a slippery slope." The whole table erupted in laughter again. By this time, all peripheral frost had melted from his nooks and crannies, and his mood was charged with electricity. It's amazing, Shadow Lucas thought, how potent were alcohol and validation. We'll stop.